What's up, Weightlifting Scoop is back this week for the second episode. As promised, we have Jared Fleming, as well as James and Glenn.
Hello.
What's up, guys? That was Jared and James sitting all over there like shy today.
Yeah, something's wrong with that. I even had some coffee. Well, I guess it wasn't really coffee. It was a frappuccino.
Frappuccino, Jesus.
Yeah.
You have no chance at the title belt today.
Well, considering that you're doing the best competition snatch and my PR is in a competition, I'm going to have a hard time.
Yeah, so we are having a little competition for the title belt. First one that Jared will be here for. So how you feeling about that?
Well, I'm going to wear the belt after that, I'm just saying.
Pretty cocky.
He's got a pretty heavy competition snatch too, so man, it's gonna be tough. But we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna turn up the techno music and have a heavy Friday. So glad you're excited to see us lift heavy.
Yeah, but I think that some unknown is going to take the belt. I think probably one of the girls, Becca or Taylor, or somebody that we don't expect is going to walk away with the belt.
Well, I think when we're all expecting it, it's not unexpected.
Well, there's whole orders there. My point is that it won't be James or Jared, probably not even Travis. It's going to be somebody else, some lesser known.
Thanks for all your compliment.
Okay, you're welcome.
Well, this is what
We used to it.
Travis is going off of his best competition snatches at 77.
No, I'm not. I'm going off my best competition snatches. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not going to get anywhere close. But a couple people are hitting some really big training lifts, so it should be fun. Hopefully, a couple PRs. Like, I don't want anyone to win if they don't hit PR. That's bullshit, you know. But if they hit PR, they deserve to win the belt. So that's how I feel about it.
I'm going to come right out and say this. Tom is not going to win.
I don't know. What's Tom's best snatch in the competition? 45?
150.
50, yeah.
150.
Yeah, we're counting the muscle driving meets, so that's where your 151 was too. So they count that one, they got to count Tom's 50. So yeah, it's gonna be either way. We're gonna have a great time. We're gonna turn up that techno music. So I hope we're playing techno music. I've said that like 5 times.
I was thinking like, gangster rap or something.
Yeah, or that.
Let's not do the rap thing.
2 Chains.
Yeah. How about that?
Well, anyways, we have some huge news. Maybe Jared will want to say this.
What's coming out on the podcast. So yesterday, filled out the big.
You're coming out of the closet?
well, that too, guys. Just saying, me and Travis have a love affair.
Oh man, Jesus, this is getting weird.
So no, just switched to muscle driver yesterday, and it's going to be, in my best interest. It's a good group of guys trained here. I like Glenn, I like Don. It's a great atmosphere, and I'm really looking forward to training with this group of people. So I look forward to the future here training at MDUSA.
That's awesome.
Well, I guess for those who don't really know, Jared, you're a 94 lifter. What are your best lifts?
So in competition, my best snatch is 163. Clean jerk is 193. Unofficially in training, I snatched 170 and clean jerk 195. So those would be my best lifts, official and unofficial.
So obviously one of the best 94s in the country, and you've made the world team at least twice, right?
Yeah, I made the senior world team in 2011 in Paris, France, and then again last year in Warsaw.
Yeah.
Is that the off the tongue there?
Yeah, there's V's and W's and all sorts of stuff. I was over there, and I was saying, I'm going to roll call. And in Germany, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no such thing as roll call.
Yeah.
And I showed them, they're like, oh, Roswell.
Yeah, they thought we were the most idiotic white people in the world in that Frankfurt airport, but that's what it looks like, right? I mean, it's spelled Rocklaw.
The Germans were pretty nice, though.
They don't know how to pronounce their words.
It's not like you got peanut butter on the roof of your mouth.
At least they don't have a different alphabet like Russia.
Well, there's that.
That's just crazy.
Or Arabic.
All right, back to the topic. Sorry, I got this off.
And he made Pan Ams a couple times. So basically, anyway, so if you guys don't know him, he's a very experienced lifter, been lifting since he was 12 years old, right, at least. So yeah, big recruit, really excited about the future here. Obviously, James and myself and all the other guys are extremely happy to have a quality lifter to train with. So
Yeah, looking forward to it for sure.
I'm just glad he finally comes here.
I'm growing back up, man.
Well, I'd say it looks better now than it did like 6 months ago.
So do you know that he just came out of the closet and you're
Worried about his hair? Yeah.
that's what it sounds like. Are you picking up what he's putting down?
I already picked it up.
That's not right.
All right.
jokes, hopefully. Get some weird vibes. No, but today we're going to talk a little bit about, obviously, Jared's been visiting for a week, and this is really his first week here. He trained in Shreveport for a long time, and he's been to the OTC. Me and James have kind of went out to the OTC for a couple camps recently, and so we kind of seen how things work at different places, and there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. So I guess one of the main things that I would like to take away is the things that are similar between good programs are probably the things that need to be the same everywhere if you want a successful program, right? And then there's some things that are slightly different that are maybe slightly less important. So, now what was training like down in Shreveport? Obviously, Kendrick Ferris trains there.
Yeah, some of the, just off the top of my head, some of the glaring differences. I would say that Shreveport is a very unique program. We only trained 5 days a week. The workouts lasted 2.5 to 3 hours, very long workouts, very strength biased programs. We would only snatch and clean jerk twice a week. As far as the Olympic lifting world, that's not a lot of Olympic lifts during the week. The program is based around athletes who are already pretty well seasoned, a lot of years of competing, and are pretty efficient at the lifts. And the philosophy there is your technique can only get so good, and at some point you just need to get stronger. And that's the general philosophy of the program down there. Whereas, the Olympic Training Center, a lot more lifts, a lot higher intensity, lower volume, just more of a Russian or a European style of lifting, just a lot of lifts at high intensity. And nine training sessions a week, 2 on Monday, 2 Wednesday, 2 Friday, 1 Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. The same as here, 9 times a week, but the intensity isn't quite as much here. From what I've seen, granted, we're leading up to nationals, and this is kind of a deload week, so I don't have a real good handle just yet on how things are here, but definitely different than things in Shreveport, that's for sure.
From here in Shreveport, you said you train 5 times a week. Most people are students in college for the most part. I mean, there are some older athletes there. Not now, just because Kendrick's grown up and Cody Gibbs has grown up and you're grown up. So.
Bunch of grown-ups.
Yeah, but during the time, I would say even now a lot of people are in college there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's for sure. And I know I caught a little bit of the tail of what you guys were talking about on Wednesday during the podcast, and talking about balancing basically stimulus and recovery, and being in college and focusing on classes and the stress of homework and studying and exams and things like that. Just the pure amount of time and stress levels of being in college, we can't train 9 times a week. So being in school really cuts into the time for training, whereas here the majority of the athletes just train and maybe have a few classes across the gyms teaching weightlifting, but not having to go to school really opens up a lot of time and reduces stress, so we can focus on training.
And you found this, Glenn, when you coached Caleb Ward as he graduated in high school. Obviously in high school he's only able to train 5 times a week, so he's in school all the time, and then as he kind of decides to become a full-time weightlifter, then he opens up the opportunity to train full-time and actually recover from it.
Yeah, I mean, that was where Caleb made his biggest single amount of progress. You know, he changed from 5 days a week, which is similar to what Jared's been doing, to 9 times a week. That was a huge increase in training, and it really spurred a major improvement in progress.
Yeah, and kind of a similar situation with myself when I was in high school. I was only trained 3 days a week. From about the time I was 10 to 18, I was only trained 3 days a week. And when I moved to Shreveport, Louisiana, and started training with under Cal Pierce with Kendrick Ferris, Cody Gibbs, and some others, when I switched up from 3 days, I'm sorry, not 3 days, but 3 days a week to 5 days a week, I saw a huge improvement in my competition total, and I think I hit around a 22 kilo PR meet total in about 16 weeks from going from 3 days a week to 5.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, like at the end of the day, the more you can train, the better you can get, so long as you can recover from it. I mean, we all agree on that.
Oh, 100%. That's for sure.
But the key is finding the mindset and ability to just be able to recover from it. I mean, everyone's different. You got to be pretty low stress to be able to handle that.
Yeah, I think you need to be able to know your body as well. Whenever you jump into a new program, you just have to know what your limitations are and try to be careful you have to be careful when you're walking that line of overtraining versus just reaching the other side of that line. You have to be real careful. Undertraining is no good, but certainly overtraining isn't good at all. So you really have to know your body and be able to walk that line of pushing it to the limit without overstepping your boundary and, increasing risk of injury and overtraining and things like that.
Yeah, one thing that you had talked to me about was you were really familiar with the Shreveport program. You knew how your body reacted to it. And when the workout was written on the board, you wanted to pretty much follow the percentages for a few days at least, so that you knew how your body was going to react to it. And that's something that Glenn talks about in seminars, is getting to know a program, not just being a program hopper, but learning how your body reacts within a certain system.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that you need more than just be able to spit out exactly what's on a workout or what the scheme of the program is over a certain number of weeks, but you need to understand everything behind it, the science behind the program, and really understand it in order to be able to change it. Just swapping things in and out of a workout or in and out of, say your program is 12 weeks and just throwing things in randomly throughout the program is no good. You have to understand that there's a science behind all of it, and if you can understand the science, then that's when you can start to tweak and monitor things, because you understand the science and how carefully everything's put together, and you know when it's appropriate to add things, take things out, slightly change things, and that's the major thing, is understanding the science and the thought behind the program.
Yeah. Now down in Shreveport, you guys, so Monday and Tuesday, you're usually doing your heavier days, so you're going to have push pull, and the first push day and the first pull day are going to be kind of like maximum intensity within the rep scheme, right? And
yeah, so basically, just a general overview of the program there. So Monday is like Travis said, a push day, so squats, benches, push press, things of that nature. And usually for a given rep scheme, so say it's whether it's 10s, 5s, 3s, you'll max out based on how you feel that day in whatever rep scheme you're in. So say, just for example, say you're in 10s, you would max out for whatever you felt you could do that day for 10 reps. And then on Wednesday, you would do 90% of what you did on Monday for that given rep scheme, for either three sets of 10 to 5 sets of 10. And then Tuesday, full day, would be a heavy intensity snatch day for a given rep scheme. Thursday would be moderate to heavy clean day for a given rep scheme. And then Friday's off, and then Saturday you go as heavy as you feel is going to be beneficial to you on Saturday.
on the lifts.
Yeah, on the snatch.
On the lifts and the front squat. So yeah, I mean, you're kind of used to going really hard Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, focusing on just getting in, work, and then Saturday going heavy again. Whereas here, we've been talking about we go heavy Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon. So it's not necessarily top loaded Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, and the big thing with the program in Shreveport is that I've learned, I understand the program, and I know the ins and outs of it. So I know when I can push it, when to back down. So if I were to take, even if I were to bump up the intensity a little bit on Thursday, if I wanted to get in some heavy cleans, I know exactly what's coming the next week, and I can scale it back if I need to. So just knowing the ins and outs of the program really helped. That's going to be one of the things that's going to take a little bit of adjusting to, switching to another program is really understanding everything behind it and knowing when to push it, when to back off, and what's coming. So I know when to push and when to back off, and just have an idea of what's coming in the following weeks.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Glenn, you've been talking with Jared about, kind of like the ideas behind it and trying to get him to understand. And, obviously, when you come in with a new athlete who's been on several different programs, you want to kind of walk them through those things. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, Jared will have a good understanding of what's going on. And now, James, we were out at the OTC, and the OTC is more similar in the amount of times they train, at least, as us. But there were differences.
Yeah.
What do you think about training out there?
Well, I guess to start off with, they still did the 9 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday twice, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday just once. But they also had an 8 a.m. stretching session every morning, which wasn't an intense stretching session. It was just like 30 minutes of moving around, doing some push-ups, stretching, some crunches. I think I'm doing something crazy like 250.
Some crunches.
Yeah, but they're training each session. They had a larger variety of exercises than we normally do. That was one of the major differences I saw. And I didn't know if it's because most of the people training there weren't necessarily going to Pan Ams. I don't know if the ones that were going to Pan Ams had less exercises to peak for, but overall they had just a larger variety of exercises. I saw some neat ones because they had a couple of people there that were injured and just doing some things around the injury that were new exercises for me to see, which was neat. But I actually took something from that trip and I started stretching a little bit every morning for like 30 minutes or so. And it seems to be helping. I mean, you always get into, once you start stretching more, you change your position a little bit, and then you got to have some time to get used to new positions. So I've seen that a little bit, mostly with the overhead position and the snatch. It's just a little bit different. But I'm enjoying doing that stretching session every morning.
I mean, so far, I didn't really intend for this to be like the differences between training and I meant to include even more about life. So obviously, most of the people in Shreveport are college students, and so training 5 times a week is about all you can really do because you're going to have classes and work, and most people work on top of their classes.
Yep. What was the hardest thing for me out in Colorado? It's the ping pong matches and flip flops. Man, those things wore me out. We got pretty intense in there as I was playing the ping pong.
Yeah, I got blisters and my flip flops kept slipping on the floor and I almost pulled a groin. Yeah, lucky.
I know. We just need to stay away from the table tennis. Yeah, so that was fun. I mean, out there, I guess this has to do with our life. You just train and then you hang out the rest of the day. And it's kind of like it's almost like a college campus, similar to on campus.
Yeah, since I lived there for a while, I would definitely agree with that. It's very much so like a college campus. You live right on the complex, you eat on the complex, you train on the complex. Basically, you don't need a car or anything like that. Everything you do, the sports medicine's on complex. They have a computer lab, I guess you could call it, more of like a hangout room. I mean, everything that you need is there. You have all the people you train with for the most part there. All the different sports are there on complex. You really never really need to leave the complex for anything.
Right. So at Shreveport, was there any stipends or anything anymore? for a little bit they had like a small stipend because it was a high performance center, but
It was modest. The biggest thing that came from training at Shreveport was the in-state tuition, which really knocked the cost down. The cost of living down there is very modest as well, so living expenses are very cheap. It's a good place to live on a small budget. But as far as stipends went, there were no stipends for anybody who was outside of the university. If you competed for the university at, say, collegiates, university worlds, things like that, you got a stipend based on your ranking within the people at the program. But it was pretty modest.
So most of the time, like most people that live there, they're definitely like working and living either on campus or in an apartment pretty close to campus and staying close. And I would say the biggest difference between the OTC and here from being out there is that, we're given a stipend here and not necessarily services. Whereas out at the OTC, they're kind of given those services, and so they do have the cafeteria, which is kind of nice, but if you don't want to eat that food, you don't really have a kitchen if you live on campus to do that. And if you don't eat the food, you don't get the service, so there's nothing that you can do instead of that. So there are definitely a lot of perks living out there, but you're definitely limited in where you're living, where you're eating, and those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on the individual. Those people who are very independent, this is a great opportunity. You get a stipend, and then it's up to you to choose where you live, what kind of food you eat, things of that nature. If you're dependent and you don't want to have to worry about cooking food or going and buying your groceries or looking for an apartment, the services are all free at the Olympic Training Center. But what they give you is what you get, and you really don't have a lot of choice. So it just depends on the individual.
Yeah, I would say definitely. I lived at the OTC when I was younger, and it was great. But since just being older, I kind of like to eat certain things, or like to live at a certain place. I want to have my own kitchen, and those are the things that I couldn't really live without anymore. But when I was younger, that was great because I didn't want to cook my own food.
Yeah.
Cooking food. That was nice being out there for a week.
It's nice for a few days.
Yeah. It was great for.
I think it gets old after a while.
Yeah.
Every time you go out there, there's like a 3-day grace period, and then after that, 4th day, 5th day, 6th day, it's kind of starts to get old.
Ice cream. Yeah, all you can eat ice cream.
I like ice cream.
I would say that going there for short periods of time, whether it be a week or so, is actually pretty nice. To have the sports medicine right there. You don't have to mess around with insurance or getting a doctor's referral to see a physical therapist, anything like that. You just go right over after training, get whatever work you need done. They have chiropractors there, physical therapists there. They have an MD that comes in once a week. It really makes that a lot easier. That's the one thing if I were to say that the training center had one thing over any program, it would be that the sports medicine clinic is right there and is super convenient and all that's free. That's the one big benefit of being out there. If you go out for a week, you've got all the care you need right at your fingertips.
Yeah, that is true. If you get hurt, like for instance, as soon as Donovan hurt his shoulder, he came back from Worlds, got an MRI the next day, and was in surgery within a week, which is unheard of speed, really. And unless you're at the OTC, you got to get referrals, and then you're lucky to get an MRI within a week, much less get the surgery done right there. So that definitely is an advantage.
And he's back to training. He's already doing some decent numbers. What he was doing, like 140, clean to 190 now.
Well, he cleaned 260.
Oh.
PR clean recently.
It's more than 190.
His shoulder is obviously feeling fine in the clean. Obviously, the overhead's going to take a little longer, but I guess some people have actually been asking on the YouTube video, and so some bad news is that Mike Zella had to get surgery on his knee. It was a very minor surgery, just had to scrape out some of the meniscus. But it was kind of weird because it seemed like a tweak, and it didn't seem like meniscus because he had full range of motion for a while. And then he took a couple weeks off, kind of, going very, very light, 50 kilos, 70 kilos in a snatch. And then all of a sudden, the meniscus kind of turned a little bit and locked his knee up. So that's why he hasn't been in the videos, because a lot of you guys have been asking. So, send him some get wells on Facebook. He's doing well. And meniscus doesn't really take too long. 6 weeks from now, he ought to be good to go. Obviously, he's going to be a bit weaker just because he hasn't been able to lift, but that's really a minor surgery. It's not like dangerous to come back from or anything. So
yeah, he came back in here, snatching in the 30s and then jerking in the 60s.
Yeah, it'll take a little bit of time, but obviously that's going to put him out of nationals, which is unfortunate but necessary because he's obviously looking long term. So hopefully by the American Open he'll be ready to go again. And he certainly said when I talked to him, like his mental state has changed. He said he used to kind of come in here and those extra things that you need to do. It wears on you. I mean, this is a brutal sport. I think you'd all agree. And, you get tired of doing the little things. You kind of get annoyed when you have to do that downset. And when you have to take time off, you're kind of like, I wish I could do that downset.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. I think that that's one of the things that really separates your world team members versus your, the people who are going to nationals and they're on the border is the people who do those extra downsets. They do the stretches. They do the little exercises, the core exercises, the things that they need personally above and beyond the program to be at their best. The people who are making the world teams and of course the Olympics and breaking records and things like that, those are typically the people who are taking that little step above and beyond that nobody wants to do after they're tired of the workout. They're doing those things, and that's what really separates being really good to being the best in the country, in my opinion anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work.
Having the time to do that allows you. I mean, if you only have 45 minutes to get your workout done, then you're obviously not going to have the time to do a 45-minute stretching session just because you're going to get the whole workout done in that block. So, yeah. So you did have an injury last year, a back injury, and I remember having a conversation with you at Worlds because we were in together. You were kind of worried you weren't going to be able to come back. So, your mental state coming back into training is different, too, because you appreciate it more, I think.
Yeah. Last year before Worlds, just to give everybody kind of an idea of what went on, for those of you who don't know, bulged 2 discs between L5S1, L4, L5. The bulge wasn't severe, so that in and of itself wasn't a huge deal. The discs have gone back and they're doing all right, but I was having problems for a while with my left erector locking and not allowing it wouldn't release, and had terrible erector pain. That's something that I still struggle with at this point, and getting the care for that and doing the things necessary like stretching, dry needling, things like that have been crucial for my recovery. So staying on top of that's important. And as far as the mental game goes, it took them a while, or when I say them, I mean the physical therapists and people that I was working with, to figure out exactly what was going on and why I had such pain in my low back, and most of it seemed to be muscular. And so I had this terrible pain. Nobody knew what was going on. And so I was mentally tough. I didn't know if I was going to be able to come back and lift because nobody knew what was wrong, and I had this terrible pain. But started doing some dry needling that really seemed to kick things in gear. I still struggle with it a little bit here and there, but it's getting better. And now that I'm able to actually train pretty consistently and I'm coming back, I do really appreciate it. And those little things that we're talking about that no one wants to do, especially stretching, that can make such a big difference for a lot of us. It's something now that I try to incorporate every day into my workouts just because it's so important, and it's really opened my eyes to going a little step above and beyond just to make sure I'm healthy and be able to compete.
You actually put a video up of you were getting dry needling done to you. Was that on Instagram?
Yeah, I posted on Instagram. I think I might have posted it on Facebook for anybody who's interested in seeing just exactly what it looks like or what all it entails.
Yeah, it definitely looked pretty interesting in the video.
Yeah, it looks pretty creepy.
Yeah, I've had acupuncture and a little bit of dry needling, but that one was some longer needles.
Yeah, the needles, I mean, they're about 5 inches long. I mean, they're pretty intense. When you're trying to get deep into like gluteus minimus and things like that, you have to go through a lot of muscle to get down and working in those muscles. So I mean, they're using pretty big needles to work on some of those muscles.
So you are going to compete at nationals. First meet back, so just kind of going to go over with the plan and not overdo it.
Yeah. I mean, I had some talks with my dad, Brad, Glenn, and some other coaches, and that's one thing that's difficult is coming back when you're not 100%. When you're used to being a contender to win, coming back not 100% is something that is mentally difficult to do. But decided that was the best thing to do mentally. Get a competition back in, and build that mental strength, get back in the game, and work out from there.
Yeah, I mean, just learn how to compete again, and you said the one that you really want to be 100% for is University Nationals a little later in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that making the World Championships this year, it's going to be certainly not impossible, but it's going to be difficult coming back with a limited time here until the final qualifier for Worlds. And I know that IWF just recently implemented a rule that said the 2 years prior to the Olympics, you have to go to 2 IWF certified competitions and be eligible for WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency testing in order to be eligible to go to the Olympics. So the Pan Am Championships and World Championships that I attended last year will not count. So if I don't wind up qualifying for the Senior Worlds this year, University Worlds will be a priority just to make sure I get one of those 2 international sanctioned competitions for the drug testing. So I'll be eligible for the games in 2016.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to look back, but yeah. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, it really hasn't affected your snatches too much. You said your back issues, you're able to snatch mostly, but in the clean and jerk, obviously going heavy. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see your progress, and obviously, main priority is getting you healthy, so that long term you can put up that that ultimate big total. So I guess here in a minute we're gonna be competing for the title. So you guys got anything before we leave? Any other last thoughts?
Title belt.
It's hanging from the ceiling right now, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Muscle Driver or Sean or somebody put up a video or a picture of it. So it's just hanging there, staring at all of us. We can have the best percentage of their competition snatch. No stress.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to post a video tonight. It'll be the first one of the series of the B blog about having a kid and weightlifting and how that goes. So keep an eye out for that, and when you see it, write some comments in there, some suggestions, whatever you guys want. If you've gone through having a kid before, and how it affects training and all that.
You're a baby daddy.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, definitely. I think that'll be interesting. I'll probably even look at those just because I see James in training every day, but I don't really know the struggles that he's going through, and I've never had a kid myself, so there's obviously probably a lot of stress and a lot of unknown right now. So yeah, look out for that, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks for being on the show, Jared.
Absolutely.